Hey guys, well, hello. Happy Hot Mess Monday. I'm Sugar Jones. I'm your hot mess in residence, and we're just going to get going this morning. Before I forget, we do have like a little contest going on here at Hot Mess Monday. Remember that if you like the page, follow me on Instagram or follow me on Twitter, you're entered to win this copy of Humans. It's a beautiful, beautiful coffee table book that has lots of great stories about humans. It's made by the guy from Humans of New York, one of my favorite accounts to follow online. Great stories about humans, and really that's what we're all about here, is all about humans. So you guys, I actually posted this a couple weeks ago on Facebook, asking my friends if they had started from scratch after the age of 40. I was really thinking 50, but I know a lot more people that are in their 40s than that have hit their 50s. So I just made it 40. And I got such a huge response. Initially, I was going to talk to two people. Yeah, the cover's beautiful of that book, right? Such a great cover, great book, great stories, great photos. So anyway, so there were so many amazing stories. And I had a couple people that I was going to actually talk to a couple of weeks ago. It was Thanksgiving week. Things kind of just got a little crazy for me. And then I decided that I'm just going to make that the focus of Hot Mess Monday in 2021. And so I reached out to a friend of mine who is an executive coach who herself has started from scratch a few times and has some really great advice on how to start, what to think about, 3 things to keep in mind if you're pivoting, if you're starting from scratch. Now, the word pandemic actually became the word of the year, or is the word of the year for 2020. But I think followed closely by that is pivot. Pivot is a word that everybody's been saying. And what does it mean? It means that either your industry has gone or you've decided that you need to be doing something different, and you're going to take all that you've learned and all that's in your little brain, and you're going to change direction and pivot into something new. It's a scary time for a lot of us, but we have no choice. That's the good part. Is, sometimes when you're like, I don't know if I'm going to jump out, but when you get shoved off the cliff, what are you going to do? So there you go. So anyway, I am bringing on Coach Cheri Schappert, who is going to chat with me a little bit about what to do when we pivot. Let's connect. Can we hear you?
I don't know. Can you?
Oh, I can hear you. Perfect.
Hey.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me. So now, Cheri, so you and I connected a few years ago when you had a retail shop here in town. My kids are way too old for the retail shop that you had, but I'm kind of curious to know like how that retail shop came around, what you were doing before that, and maybe we can talk a little bit about what you're doing now. So tell me why you started that retail shop.
So first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. I'm hugely flattered. When you reached out, I was like, Sugar Jones wants to talk to me?
I love talking to you. Are you kidding me?
Anyway, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity. So the baby store, gosh, it's sort of a long story, but I'll capsulize it. Back in way too many years ago to remember, I worked in the baby industry. I worked for someone else. I ran his store, and I took a store from operating in the red most of the time to in the black, to like way in the black, into doing so well in the black that they sold my store and they kept their own. So I was left without a job. But I always knew that was something I was good at, something that I really loved. Fast forward, got married to an entrepreneur. We traveled a lot. I didn't have a lot of time to give to anything other than my family. He passed away I think about 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
And my daughter and I relocated here to San Diego. And when I got here, I just kept thinking, God, there's just nothing for children here. There just really isn't. At the time, Babies in Bloom, and she's still there. She's phenomenal. But her whole mindset was very different than mine. There was also Babies by the Sea, also very different than mine. So I decided, what do I have to lose? So I opened Ollie and Me in Breasty Ranch. gosh, I think it's like 10 or 11 years ago now.
That's so crazy. That's just wild to me. So if you guys aren't from here, Bressy Ranch is like this really new shishy little neighborhood.
Yep.
And the store that you created very much fit into the aesthetic of, I mean, it's almost like somebody just created this little community and just plopped it right in there. And I don't know if you remember, were you here before those houses were even built?
No.
That was just a field. Like it was a field for the longest time. It was, I mean, obviously like every neighborhood was just a field, but if you've ever been to Carlsbad, this is a pretty prominent part of the city.
Yeah.
It just sat empty for so long. And now we've got Viasat there, and now we've got like all these, all these homes, and they're beautiful, really, really cute neighborhoods. So your store was perfect for that neighborhood.
Thank you. But this is actually kind of a cool how you have to pivot story, if you don't mind. So my background is in interior design. That was my whole thing. So when I opened, we were going to do nursery decor. That was it. I wasn't really hot into furniture, but I would do it if I needed to. But I was really into like, let me decorate your children's room. And no one wanted anybody decorating the room. Etsy had
because Pinterest. You've got Pinterest boards. You don't need a designer when you have Pinterest.
Right. So pretty quickly I realized, oh gosh, we got to bring in other things. So what started as nursery decor, ultimately, before we ended up closing our Carlsbad store, I ended up doing clothing. So I literally started in one avenue and just realized pretty quickly, this isn't going to pay the bills. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And lucky for me, Instagram hit really hard. And because we were in such the shishi location, all the bloggers wanted to be part of my store. So I was very, very lucky in that, but that was probably one of the quickest pivots I've ever had to do.
But that was a perfect storm though. That was perfect timing. Like I feel like when we started talking about it and the timing and everything of it, it feels like you saw what was happening and you took what you wanted to do and just made some tweaks and rode this wave, and you brought in so many, influential bloggers with cute babies and cute, photos and everything else. And it really, like, you did a great job of that. Like, I was really pissed I didn't have babies anymore. Like, God damn it.
You know what?
We were already in the video game part of the influencer game. So
I have to say, it was really amazing to be in business during that time. I was super fortunate. I say I had the team who created magic. I really did. I had a support group of people underneath me that got the big picture, and they just kept helping me build and build and build. So I was very, very, very lucky there. But yeah, that was my first big whoops, got to pivot here, because nobody wants me to come decorate their nursery. Nobody had the budget, really.
Oh, no. And that's the other thing too, is Bressy, it wasn't exactly a cheap neighborhood, and everybody was just barely getting in there.
Well, and also kind of like lesson learned here, I opened right in the middle of the recession.
But you can't, okay, so that's the other thing, is you can't predict a recession. Like, could any of us have predicted this pandemic?
No.
I mean, we had people in charge and, where they were supposed to be, watching out and whatever, but none of us was prepared to lose everything, and that's what we're talking about today. And really, it's just, last night I was just like, I was hurting. My heart was just hurting, because I'm like, how much more? And I even, I pulled out my voice notes, because I'm like, I can't write this because my eyes are so blurry from crying. But it just feels like we're getting to the finish line. It's the end of the year. We're dragging our bodies across the line. We're like bruised, battered, broken, but we're going to make it. And so in 2021, we have, hopefully, I know it's just an artificial calendar, but things are going to change. The vaccine is coming. All these things are changing. But a lot of industries have completely been decimated. And a lot of us have been sitting at home going, do I really want to do the thing that I've been doing all this time? And so that's why we're talking to you right now. So you had 3 points. And so I wanted to start with point number 1, which is, and this is something you and I talked about that I was so glad we clicked on. It's find your passion.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So first of all, I have to say you're right. Like that we are at a time that we've never been in before, ever, ever, ever. So I think the key thing that if I don't drive anything else home today, I want you and people watching this to look at what the opportunity is here. Like we all know the decimation, all of us, myself included.
We're living in it every moment of every day.
Right. And I don't know how many viewers you have from out of the state of California, but California right now, like this is not good. It's just not good.
Well, okay, so real quick. So if anybody that is watching from outside of California, last night we went back to lockdown. The majority of the state went back into lockdown last night. And most of my friends who own restaurants just decided rather than trying to take out, they are just shutting down for the rest of the year. So entire staffs are like now out of work through the holiday season.
So it's not just affecting businesses, it's affecting the individuals too. And I think that's the key thing. And it's not just restaurants, it's hairdressers, it's any personal services, which is, you know, anyway, huge part of
big hit
our economy here. Yeah. So what I've taught my clients to do is find the opportunity. Like what in here what little nugget in all of this disaster, I guess, what little nugget can we find?
That's a pretty good word for it. Yeah, disaster.
Yeah. So I teach people how to find their passion. The 40-somethings, the 50-somethings, we've all kind of been there. We've raised our children. I'm a grandmother. And you kind of get lost in that part of your life and you sort of forget who you are and what you want. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right. Like you spend a lot of time driving your kids to basketball and, you know, whatever. So you kind of forget who you are, or I forgot who I was. So in 2016, closed the baby store. I had cancer. Everything's good. Everything's fine. It just, in order for me to heal, everybody kept saying, you have to get out from underneath the stress. And I kept saying, but my business. And they kept saying, your business is your stress. So I closed my business, sold my house, closed my business, moved to Northern California, had reconstructive surgery, and just kind of like thought, what do I want to be when I grow up? Like, I really don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
So can we stop for a second right there real quick? There was a 30 under 30 list that came out the other day, and I was like, you don't even know what you're doing under 30. Like, you don't get your stride until maybe 40, mid 40s, I feel like. And this is just coming from people at this part of our lives, 30 under 30, that's just a shit show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, if you're 30 under 30 and you're doing what you think you're going to do for the rest of your life, good on you. But I got to tell you, at 30, what I thought I wanted to be was an interior designer. And I don't know how that turned out.
But I kind of want to say that in that there are still people that are in their 40s and 50s going, I never made a 30 under 30 list. And they're kind of regretting that. And I'm like, I feel like you and I are here to say, like, no, I wouldn't even call us late bloomers. I would be like, we've been developing, we've been working for this whole time, you know, like moving from one thing to another, one passion, like maybe the same line of passion, but finding new things. Social media wasn't here 20 years ago. There was no social media manager job.
No. A lot of the opportunities that are out there right now weren't here 20 years ago or whatever. So,
and in 20 years, there are going to be some opportunities we couldn't even dream of today.
Hopefully. No, there will be.
Really optimistic about it, yes.
So I'm going to go back to find your passion. So what I tell people is, if you're at a party and you're stuck in a corner and you have to talk to somebody for like 20 minutes and you can talk nonstop passionately about something, what is it? What is it? And you know,
I'm like anything.
Well, some of us are that way. Some of us are that way, but some of us are like, I don't know. And you kind of have to dig deep. You have to think about it. And then you kind of have to put yourself in that position and think, all right, what can I talk about? You know, with passion for 20 minutes. I always say too, like, everybody kind of has something secret inside that they want to share with the world, but they might be intimidated to do so. I got to tell you, 2021 is your opportunity. It's an opportunity. Like, don't.
Yeah. I mean, what do we all, and I mean, honestly, like, if there was never a time to say this, it's what do we all have to lose? We have nothing to lose anymore.
Right.
Really don't.
Right.
And we're kind of all in the same boat, right? my son repeated this quote from we're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat or whatever. I thought that was very prophetic, but anyway, or profound. But anyway, we're kind of all in the same place where if you were to turn back and say, this is the year that I just decided to switch nobody would bat an eye.
Right.
So if there's any time that you could be like, I'm just going to go out and do this from now on, but you never did it before because you were afraid what people would say, nobody's going to say anything this year. Everybody's going to be like, well, okay. You will get roundly approved.
I was just going to say, and I feel like your friends are going to be like, well, good for you for getting up and doing it. You know, it's,
absolutely.
You're right. If ever there was a time to like put yourself out there and to really like take that step, right now is the time to do it. And again, look for the opportunity. Like we've all been, like you said this really well. I feel like we're at the end and we're like beat up and we're exhausted and we're tired. And now here's this, perky life coach going, find the opportunity. But the truth is, it's like, really, what choice do you have here? That you can either stay beaten, you can stay sad, you can stay in this poor me, I can't believe this is happening to me. Or you can say, all right, I see what you did 2020. Somewhere in here, there's an opportunity. And it's the opportunity for me to do whatever I'm passionate about.
Yeah. And that's not to say that you can't stop and lick your wounds for a little while, because this has been a really rough year. But I feel like we need to really exercise that muscle of looking for the nuggets, right? Because right now there's so much bad that it may seem really hard. It's so dark that it's hard to find a light to shine on the good thing. So that's kind of, do you use any tests or anything like that, any Myers-Briggs or anything like that to kind of get people to go in the direction of like, hey, maybe this is something that you might want to take a look at?
I think you say that. I actually have a couple different assessments that I use, but the one that I use primarily is called the Energy Leadership Index. And it sounds sort of woo-woo-y, right?
It does sound woo-woo. I got all excited.
It's really cool. It's really cool. It's a simple assessment. What it teaches me is how you handle stress, on a day-to-day, and how you handle it in the big picture. And it gives us an opportunity to look at things that you find stressful. It gives me an opportunity to teach you how to take yourself from that deep down finish line where you're just like beat to death and see the opportunity up here. Not gonna lie, it's really challenging to do that right now. But it's funny because I just had this conversation with another coach last night. The best part of what I do is watching people have that aha moment, like, oh my gosh, I can do that. And then they just go off, and before you know it, they blossom and they become their best self. But you're right. It does. The assessments help. There's another one I can't think of off of the top of my head. But there is another one that we use that'll give me an idea of what you're really good at.
So I took an assessment right before I turned 40. And I'm so thankful that I took that assessment, because I had been shoving myself. I had been like punishing myself for being who I am. And I took this assessment, and this assessment I was nodding the whole time at the results. Like, yes. I had never really stopped to think that there was nothing wrong with me. I mean, I'm a little cuckoo, but I never stopped to think that there was anything wrong with me, that I couldn't do well in a certain career. See, I never stopped to think that the career may just be completely wrong for me.
I think that people need, especially right now, more than ever, you need to give yourself permission to explore. And I feel like, I think we're from a similar generation. You're a bit younger than I am, more than a bit.
But we're really super cool sisters. So that's really all that matters.
Yeah, totally. But I was kind of taught like you have a job and then you have a career, and that's sort of what you do for the rest of your life. And I feel like with that mindset right now, I would be so beat down because this is what I did my whole life. I don't know how to do anything else. And lucky for me, somewhere in the middle there, I learned to give myself permission to just try stuff. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you pivot and you make it work or figure out something else.
So that brings us to point number 2, which is mastery versus perfection. So I will get into this place of perfection paralysis, where if certain things are not, that's why I just embraced a few years ago, embraced this whole hot mess thing. Cause I'm like, well, that is actually an intrinsic personality trait of mine. Yeah. I kind of I like things organized in a lot of ways, but when it comes to like doing things and being in the moment, I'm a little chaotic. And I was really down on myself for not being like box, check mark, like other people that I know. And so I really kind of try to embrace this hot mess thing, and it's working. It's working. It's not perfect, but that's not the point.
Okay.
So mastery versus perfection. Tell me more about that.
Okay. So the beauty of this philosophy is that you're always growing, you're always learning, and you're always evolving. If you're striving for perfection, you're looking to check boxes, right? And once those boxes are checked, you move on to the next box and the next box and the next box. And honestly, there's not a lot of growth in that.
Not a lot of fun either. I gotta be honest.
No. And unfortunately, again, it's sort of my generation. We were raised like that perfection and other people's approval and so on and so forth.
Yes.
I have taught so many people to let go of what everybody else thinks. Let's just work on mastering or proving a master plan for what you want things to look like. And that just means a continuation of growth.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, again, going back to that point before, we were really hung up on what people think. And now everybody's so busy with their own disaster of a 2020 and whatever they're coming out of, and, losing a career or losing family members, losing everything. They're not paying attention to you. This is the best time to just jump and not care that because nobody's looking. Believe it or not, literally nobody's looking.
Right. I also think of people, I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels about this, but I remember when Gwyneth Paltrow launched Goop. Do you remember that? She took so much heat, but nobody liked her. Everybody was like, who does she think she is? What is this?
This is, I love that you say this. I'm like, there are so many of us that still don't, and we're still like, she doesn't care what any of us think. Look how great she's doing. She's just
right. Right. But she never shot for perfection. She
doesn't really care what you think. Like,
no.
Selling vaginal humidifiers and like some crazy shit. And she's not asking us for permission on what to put on her website.
Nope. And as far as I can see, she's still doing well. I don't know. I mean, who knows right now?
She's asking me what I use to clean my computer screen. I know my camera's a little blurry right now, so sorry, guys. Anyway, I don't know. Speaking of like perfection.
Oh, it's all right. It's okay. Anyway, so I say let go of the need to be perfect and look forward to the opportunity to learn and grow. And think of it like super, super cheesy, but think of it of like Mr. Miyagi and his whole approach to things. Like we break it down in tiny little steps, and you take a little step forward every single day. And that way you don't have to shoot for like the perfectly clean computer screen every single time. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
The camera looked great right before we went on. I don't know what happened.
You look fine to me.
I look fine to me too. Shannon Flowers just said, I needed all of this. Thank you. Shannon is actually a friend of mine who was here in San Diego. She's a military wife, and she's, just kind of popped around all over the place. We met way back, like I think 2008 or 2009. She just started making jewelry one day, and she makes the most beautiful things. And I absolutely love seeing everything she's created, but like she's always been a creative person. And what's neat is, again, going back to mastery versus perfection, is she'll post these beautiful pictures of stuff that she's working on. And it improves every time. She's like, oh, this isn't the next one I've done. And you can see that they're all beautiful, but you can see where the improvements have come. And I just love watching her create. So Shannon, I'm glad you're here. And thank you for continuing to create beautiful things for the world.
I think the beauty too, if you can take a mastery mindset versus a perfection mindset, and I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I do that to people.
No. I'll come back to it at some point, I'm sure. It literally just went bing right outside of my head. It happens. It happens.
That's okay. Okay, so the third point is to build your team. I was like, wait a minute, we had 4 points, but we made the point, 1 point, the actual title. But prepare your team or build your team. And my question is, do you need a team? And kind of thing. So some people are going to be like, I can do this all by myself. And if 2020 has taught us one thing, it's anybody is an island.
So I'm going to agree and I'm going to disagree, because I absolutely, like, my coaching program is my coaching program. I've put it together. But I have to tell you that I've had the beauty of going through the whole program with 43 amazing individuals. I have probably the most amazing mentor ahead of me, helping me pave the way. So my team is this huge group of people that we kind of came up with this mindset together. So I'm very blessed that way. But when I say build your team, I work with a lot of positive energy versus negative energy sort of things. And positive energy is called anabolic energy. You are the prime example of anabolic energy. You, my friend, are like on the beach, living life, telling everybody else, like,
I'm roller skating after this, just so you know.
Right. But you're the kind of person that, people want to be around. Catabolic energy is a negative, like, oh, I don't think you have to do that. Sugar, I really think you need to stay home because, there's COVID. So when I say
we need both of those people though.
We do. But when you're like looking to pivot and you're having to rebuild yourself and you need some self-esteem, you need your anabolic team. You need your team that's going to be like, well, actually, you know what? I hope you don't mind me sharing. You called me not long ago and said, I have an idea that I need to run past somebody.
Yes. Yeah.
Can I chat about this with you? And I was like, sure. Again, super flattered. Sugar Jones wants to run an idea by me. All right. Fair enough. And I feel like in that conversation, I became part of your anabolic team, right?
Yes.
Because I helped you see where the positives were. I helped you see that you can totally do this. That's what I say. That's what I mean when I say build your team. Like, you don't need an accountant. You don't need, you may or may not. I mean, let me back up and say that. It depends on which area you're going into. But for me, I need my cheerleaders. I need to be able to call my girls and go, hey, I'm launching this program. First of all, like, I totally just recently shifted my focus in coaching, and I needed to be able to call my friends and say, hey, I'm no longer like dealing with work-life balance. I want to take on people whose loved ones have mental health disorders. What do you think? And
I've seen that in your posts, and your posts have been really informative, like really, when you started talking about the journaling, I was like, oh my gosh. And I could tell you were shifting, you didn't make like a huge announcement, but I was just like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. So that was really great. I loved reading all those posts. By the way.
Thank you. That's the coaching mental health, or coaching people who have family or a loved one with mental health issues. That's my passion. Like, I can stand in a corner and I could probably take a 2-3 hour seminar and tell you all about ways to help yourself. So that's how I figured out what my passion was. Anyway, back to my anabolic team. I needed to be able to call my girlfriends and say, so I really feel good about this other avenue. Like, I'm attracting people and things are working really well, but I kind of want to shift into this one. What do you think? And had I had like the catabolic team, like, oh, I don't know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You have clients. I don't think I would shift. I knew better than to approach that team. I approached my anabolic team that was like, do it, girl, do it. And you know what? It has been so much easier to do. So when I say find your team, I really mean find your cheerleaders.
So how do you find your, so here's my thing. When I said that you kind of need both, there are people in your life that are like negatively charged and positively charged. If I don't have somebody, I know who I am. I know I'm a very positive, like bing, bing, bing person. But if I don't have somebody going, wait, hold on, pump the brakes a little, I will fly off a cliff, smiling, but off a cliff, and I'll be like, I think this shirt will work as a parachute. Somebody else will be like, no, that it's cotton, So you kind of need the person that's like, pump the brakes. You're a dodo bird. You're going to like kill yourself. So how do you find cheerleaders that will also speak a little bit of truth into your life? You know, like what kind of characteristics are you looking for where they're just like, they're not just, you know, blowing sunshine up your ass?
So those are the people, lucky for me, I have a good balance in a number of people. Like, just because they're my anabolic team doesn't mean that they wouldn't say to me, oh, wait a minute, you might want to rethink that one. Like,
okay.
Those are the people that are, typically it's your family. Typically it's people who've known you for a very long time and are comfortable enough to say to you, Sugar, you're crazy. Like, you go off that cliff with that
No, my family will always tell me what won't work, so I don't go to them.
Right. But you see, that's the hard part, because you need in order to grow, you need an anabolic team. So I guess I don't really have an answer for you. I think, I think intuitively we know in our life who's going to be the person to tell us, don't do that. That's not a great idea. Or, you know, who's, if it's a new business that you're thinking about and you have a friend that's an accountant, you can talk to them, because they're going to tell you that's profitable, that's not profitable. You kind of have to look at your own situation and judge from that, like, who's going to be the most reliable resource for me that's going to shoot me straight on this, versus, like you said, pump you full of smoke.
Yeah.
But I'm all about
so,
that.
like, when I reached out to you, I had this great idea and I could not formulate the words to it. I couldn't formulate what it was that I wanted to do. And then once we got to the end of it, I had boiled it down to, I love doing this. I think I want to do that. And you were like, write a list of what you need to do to move on with that. And I did actually kind of go down that road a little bit. And I realized, again, going back to my natural inclinations, I was trying really hard to put myself in a situation that I thought I would be happy in, but I forgot that I'm not really good at certain parts of what it was that we were talking about. So I was like, okay, back up. Maybe not that yet, maybe a different part of that. So, but it was really great though, because just being able to talk to you and kind of, like, I felt like I was just talking in big giant circles, and you were so patient and you kind of were like leading me. And finally you were just like, make this to-do list and do this and this and this. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because I just couldn't get what was in my head out. So that is, and for me, like, when you're building a team, aside from having just cheerleaders, I feel like having somebody like you as a coach, somebody that actually has exercises and, being able to follow up and kind of go from step to step to step is really, really important. Like, even you said you have a mentor ahead of you that you reach out to.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, I have multiples and I know who to go to for what. But again, I've had the luxury of going through a program with a lot of people, and there's this huge online community that I can reach out to. The one thing I want to point out though is you told me everything, by the way. In our conversation, you just kept talking and I didn't really tell you what to do. Like, I just repeated back to you what you said and you were like, oh, that's a great idea. And I was like, of course it is. It was yours. Anyway.
That was so funny though. I just had a little
No. I mean that to tell you that you have the ability to articulate what it is that you want. Most people do. And I don't want to take away from my profession. If somebody wants to hire me as a business coach, I am super happy to do that with you. But I also understand that these are kind of some tough economic times. So,
right.
You might not be able to invest in a coach. What I will tell you is what I would suggest is finding a mastermind. And a mastermind is like a big, huge, scary word for like 8 people who are in a similar situation. And you set up an hour every week and you meet on Zoom. And I say to you, Sugar, how's it going? What are you up to? And it's kind of like a coffee circle, right? Mm-hmm. Like a 2020 version of a coffee circle of a business group. Masterminds cost nothing. Zoom is free. You just sort of have to find your fit for where you belong.
And that's also has the added built-in feature of having an accountability group, right? Because once you've said it, you got to show up the next week and be like, yeah, I took steps towards it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're in a mastermind group, or you find a group of people that all have the same kind of mindset of wanting to accomplish something, as opposed to just getting together to be like a coffee clatch where you just bitch and moan about things.
I say go on Meetup, like start one on
really?
Meetup, right?
Yeah.
Or like I personally am on way too many Facebook groups. Like if I have to join one more Facebook group, I'm gonna it's crazy. So I say look for alternative ways. I say find the ways that nobody else is using. So Meetup, start a Meetup. Message me. If you're interested in a mastermind, maybe I know somebody that's got one going you might be suitable for, or if I have enough people messaging, maybe I can put you all together. I do group coaching in a couple different situations, and they are masterminds, but I don't do business. I deal with the mental health issues. But message me, because I'm sure I can find you a coach that will.
Awesome. All right. So we've talked for about the 30 minutes that I said we were going to talk. And I want to make sure that before we say goodbye, that everybody knows how to reach you. Yeah. So your website's not showing up necessarily on here. So tell us really quickly what it's cheriparker.com. I'm putting it in our comments here. And then they can always find you at Coach Cheri, right? Coach.Cheri.
Exactly, on Instagram.
Yeah, look, go me.
I'm totally impressed. Yeah.
I mean, I read it earlier, so I did my job just right before we got on.
The easiest way to get me super quick, the easiest way to get me is if you go to my website, you can text me, and you have to prove that you're not a bot. You have to prove that you're not a bot. So you have to give a little bit of information, but it comes right to my phone and I respond. So back to the overwhelm of Facebook groups and DMs and everything else, I get a ton of DMs. I get a ton of messages. So if you want my attention, text me.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Cheri, thank you so much for always being available to talk to me personally.
Yeah.
B, for just sharing these great points and letting people know how to reach you and how to hopefully get together for a mastermind. I'm going to connect with you after this, but I'm going to say goodbye real quick to you. So bye. Thank you. Bye. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I just cut Cheri off on accident. Darn it. I just hit that button a little too soon. So remember, if you want to win the copy of Humans, you just need to here, let me get it on. Remember, like the page, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, do whatever you want. But this goes to the end of December. And then once I pick a winner, I will send that out to you, and you'll have a nice, beautiful coffee table book for your coffee table in 2021. So again, thanks you guys for being here. Next year, just so you know, I'm already kind of like scheduling people. We're just going to be talking to people who've done this, who have pivoted, who have started from scratch, who have lost everything over and over and over again, and still get right back up and keep going and doing something new and just following their passion and, making either a great career or just being great humans, because that's really the entire point of all of this, is to be a great human. So go off and enjoy your beautiful week, and I will see you next Monday for a little new moon fun. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye.